Hey, good morning, everybody. It is the first, or rather, the last Monday of 2020 as we head into the last week. Yeah, we had a few technical difficulties today trying to get the internet back up and running after being out for a little while. So bear with us as it may not be quite as pretty as it usually is as we get started. But I hope you're ready for 2021 as we head into this last week of 2020. We got a lot to talk about today with the new bill that the president did sign and some things as we head into this last week of the year. So stay tuned for all of that as I get ready to talk to Dave in just a moment.
FM. Yes, she does. Of course, I wouldn't know for sure. 8:39. 21 before 9. We're going to check in and see what's happening with your money this morning up on Wall Street. And Lordy gosh almighty, there was quite a change overnight. All of a sudden, President Trump decided to change his mind. Oh, yeah, we'll sign that darn bill after all. And that kind of made the market happy. Let's find out how happy it is by heading down to check in with Phillip Statler from Statler Financial Services, who is on the phone this morning. Phillip, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Good to hear your voice this morning.
Good morning, Dave. I hope you had a Merry Christmas. And hey, this is the last Monday of 2020. As we head into this last week, it's going to be interesting, and Trump's already made it that way.
Oh, yeah, the president certainly made it fun. Over the Christmas weekend, he was playing chicken with Congress and saying, I may not sign it, I might not sign it. And, you know, the real risk in the thing was because of the time frame. He could have done a pocket veto, just hang on to it, leave it on his desk, not sign it, and the bill would have died even without a fight in Congress, without an opportunity to override it because of the Congress formally ending as of January 6th. So it was looking kind of greasy there until about 6 o'clock last night, wasn't it?
It was, and I was really getting concerned because I'm thinking, you know, this game of chicken's getting pretty hot and heated, basically, because there was some stuff in that bill that, though there's a lot of stuff in that bill I didn't like, there was some stuff in that bill that will be pro-business and will be helpful for small businesses trying to get through this year of COVID.
And that's probably the best description of it. There was a lot of junk in the bill that a lot of Wall Street people didn't like. There was some mistargeting of things that folks didn't like, and then the proverbial pork that goes into any omnibus bill rushed through Congress. But you know, Wall Street's pretty well been definitive for the last month and a half, 3 months. So, you know, anything is better than nothing. And the idea, the possibility of getting nothing had Wall Street really upset over the weekend.
It did, and I can't blame it. I kept watching, thinking the headlines would show up that Trump signed the bill, and we were getting down to the really the 12th hour here before the next day, and it would have been too late to sign that bill.
Absolutely.
And so I was thankful to see that happen. I know there's a lot of people that could be on the other side of the fence for that, but there are some things in there. Granted, the $600 to people is not a lot of money, but it's something. And like I said, there's a lot of garbage in there for foreign countries, but there is some stuff in there that's pro-business, small business. Don't get me wrong. It's not big business, small business, which is going to be helpful to them to get through this year.
Absolutely. As Ronald Reagan once said, a half a loaf is better than none, and this might even only be a third of a loaf, but at least it's there. Give you an idea of Wall Street's reaction to the thing. At 6 p.m. last night when early futures trading started, the Dow was down just barely over 30,000. As soon as the bill got signed, it's now climbed up to well into the 30,200 range. We're midway on the way up to 30,300 this morning. Better part of a 250-point bump just based upon the fact that the president relented and signed it. Now, there's a signing statement that goes along with it. We'll find out whether or not it really means he actually does have a deal with the congressional leadership to revise things. But at the very least, there's something there. And as you say, that's the half a loaf that business kind of needed to go forward.
It really is. And so hopefully that's going to, who knows, at 5,000 pages, what else is in there that we don't know about really yet. But I know there are some positive things within that bill, along with the negative stuff that's there. So we just got to mush through it, and we know, you and I both know, that once the administration changes, there's going to be more stimulus that they're going to try to throw out there in the first quarter.
Well, that's almost a self-evident thing with a noise that President-elect Biden has been making about how this was just a down payment on all the things he wants to do. And once we get past January 20th, there's going to be a whole new level of desire to socially monkey around with the fiscal policy in the country, whether it's for good or for bad. We know there's going to be a philosophic change on the 20th of January, and that kind of makes the Georgia senatorial elections in about 2 weeks really loom large, because that could make the decision as to how much those social programs are going to change or how much they're going to have to be negotiated.
You're right. I can't emphasize that enough for folks in Georgia, that is a very, very important race, both of them. I mean, ideally, the Republicans would like to take both of those seats in order to really establish their majority within the Senate.
And if you're on the left, if you're on the leftward leaning side, you're obviously choosing the other way. But nevertheless, it's definitely a bellwether election, and that's kind of making Georgia look like the focal point of the country. Once we get past New Year's, I got a sneaking hunch we're not going to hear too terribly much other than Georgia election news on the national news.
Yeah, I think you're right. We're definitely already seeing bits and pieces of that, and after January, after the first, it'll definitely be, that's Katie bar the doors. Is all we're going to see.
Pretty much it. So we start out the week between Christmas and New Year's. Normally, it's kind of a doldrum week to begin with until we get toward the final couple of days and get a couple of vital reports that come in from the federal government. What have you heard in terms of retail stocks, retail reports? I know you have done some perusing over the weekend. I have too. It's been really kind of deathly quiet as far as business gossip, as far as how the Christmas season went.
The one thing I did see, Dave, and I haven't seen much, is MasterCard came out and said that they saw basically a 3% increase in retail sales.
And that pretty much meets the projection that they were saying they expected, about a 3% increase for the Christmas season.
Yeah, and so that was good news. That was definitely not bad news. So that was good news that we saw an increase in retail sales in that area. And again, a lot of it was online. There wasn't as much of people standing in line, on trying to get in on Christmas Eve day to get stuff. If you didn't have it by then, you're definitely out of luck.
It was kind of interesting, really. The conventional wisdom is that it was not a good Christmas buying season in the brick and mortar stores. It was barn burner for the onlines. I'm kind of wondering whether the weekend after Christmas could turn it for the brick and mortars. I had to do a quick grocery run and I ended up at Walmart on Saturday, which probably was not the smartest thing I ever did, but they had one thing that I have to buy there. And it was absolute madhouse there. So I wonder if a lot of the online stuff was getting returned and turned into cash and retail revenue in the brick and mortars. It could be interesting to see what we get as far as the statements out of the big companies this week.
It will be. It will. There's not much. I was looking at my calendar to see on earnings season what's coming out, and literally there's less than 100 earnings coming out this week. And not from companies pretty much that you and I know, and know what they do. So it's going to be really a relatively quiet week. And even the economic calendar I was looking at, you got jobs that'll come out on Thursday, the 31st. Other than that, you've got pending home sales, and that's really about it for the week when it comes to economic news too.
It's going to be relatively quiet, and it kind of is reflected in my pre-market numbers. I mean, the stocks that are going up the most look to me like stocks that folks will expect, given the vaccine, to start profiting, like Carnival is up substantially today. The expectation that they might be able to start their cruises a little bit faster if the vaccine gets out with wide distribution, but there really isn't anybody making any big move that's creating news this morning early on either.
No, there's really not. I mean, from a news standpoint, the only thing I really have that's concerning to a certain degree is Alibaba. And, they're the big Chinese e-commerce. They're like the Amazon of China.
Hmm.
Um, and so they're running into some issues here. They're seeing a regulatory crackdown by the Chinese government. And so, even though they announced that they were going to increase their share buyback program from $6 billion to $10 billion, it's still their stock was getting hammered. On Christmas Eve day, it closed down 13.3%, and this morning it's down another almost 2%. So
Ooh.
they're really, really getting hammered by this regulatory issue with the Chinese government. We'll have to see how that plays out going forward.
That kind of becomes a cautionary tale, I would suspect, for buying anything that's at the whims of overseas governments. You don't know for sure, even something as big as Alibaba, keeping that as a share of one's portfolio, people that dive into overseas stocks as their primary holding, taking a much bigger risk than folks that are staying with American equities.
Well, that's true because at least we kind of know, right, what our regulatory environment is, even though there can be lawsuits filed by regulatory agencies all the time, and you can take a hit, but at least you understand the process that our government goes through. We don't really understand what the Chinese do and how they wander through their regulatory issues.
Oh, yeah, somebody gets a bad English muffin for breakfast in the middle of Peking, and all of a sudden you've got a bad mood government go on your back.
But we're talking about Alibaba and the Chinese government.
Yeah.
There's the only other really, and that wasn't earnings, but the only earnings thing I have is a company called Weibo, um, which I've never heard of before, but it's a Chinese social media company, and they reported a 66 cents per share profit, which was 6 cents better than expected, and the revenue was above forecast as well. They saw their daily average user go up substantially, and so though I think they're probably trading on the backs of Alibaba right now because they're down 1.6%.
I would do it. I remember reading something about that. If memory serves, I think it's kind of the mainland Chinese equivalent of Facebook, their local version, because they can't get our version of it. Intriguing that somebody's doing well. Again, on Wednesday, before we shut down, or on Thursday, before we shut down business at 1 p.m., everything was up, but not really excitingly so. Dow was up by 70, NASDAQ was up by 34, S&P was up by 13, and then they all went home to lay out cookies for Santa Claus. We're 45 minutes before we start trading after 3.5 days off. Phillip, what are we looking at this morning early on?
We got a lot of green ink on the indexes themselves. We've got the Dow up a little over 0.5%. That's $161. The S&P 500 is up 0.75% at a little over $27, and then you got the Nasdaq up 0.9%, about $115. So everything's looking good at the start there. The commodity side is not bad either, Dave. We got silver up 3.2%. There seems to be this trading range in silver between about $24 and $27 right now, an ounce. We've got gold trading about 1/3% up. And then crude oil is up 1/4% up to $48.36, which I think is up about $1 a barrel where it was on Christmas Eve day.
I think you're right. It's definitely on its way up, and you can tell on the gas pumps around here too, by the way. Asian markets were mixed, as you might guess, with the thing with Alibaba. The mainland Chinese markets were off by a bit at the close early this morning. Europe generally up. Germany is up considerably more than Great Britain, but they are in green ink on both sides of the English Channel halfway through their day today. Phillip, it's one of those times we got about 4 days left. If you got any emergency changes you need to make to fix your tax situation for next year, you've only got a few days left to do it. How do I find you to get some advice to stabilize my retirement?
And then give us a call at 863-382-0037. And you can also catch our website, statlerfinancial.com. We've got a link to our calendar there and some other good information, links to our radio show and those type of things. And then this weekend, join us for the Statler Financial Radio Show, 6 a.m. and noon on Saturday, 10 a.m. Sunday morning on Highlands News Talk 730.
All righty, and back here again tomorrow morning. Phillip, thank you so much. I do appreciate it, and I've missed you for the past few days. Good to have you back.
All right, man. You have a great day, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Thank you much. It's 105.7 Light FM and Statler Financial Services, Phillip Statler. Wedding.
Hey, folks, I want to thank you for joining us today. It is the last Monday of 2020, and we got a few days left. I hope you'll stick with us throughout this week as we bring you what little bit of economic news comes up this week. And as we head into the new year, we'll take a couple days off Thursday, Friday, and be back with you on Monday. So, hey, thanks for joining us today. I look forward to speaking to you again tomorrow morning. Bye now.